do know that love is a beautiful thing. Love is wonderful. Love is not just an experience. Love is a lifestyle. Love is something we live every day with our friends, with our family, and with those we call our loved ones. And closer to us is our heartthrob, our wives, our husbands, you know. Yes, I am very excited as usual. Laydichee is right here, always set to make sure that you get lots of information and get lots of learning and lots of beautiful moments as well, making memories on the program, talking about Couples Corner. And today I present to you beautiful people, and one of them, and that's the husband, is a regular feature on radio shows for issues concerning marriage. So I'm bringing to you someone that you need to listen to, or people you need to listen to. And this man is a writer, is a storyteller, is a pastor. He is a counselor, and like I mentioned, he's a church leader, a trainer for over 20 years, and he's written books on marriage. Currently, he wrote a book titled "If Your Marriage Is Not Working, Work Your Marriage," and that's Mr. Mike Onangwa. It's good to have you on the program.
Thank you, Laydichee.
And I also, good afternoon to you. And I also have his beautiful wife. I mean, I just, when she came in, I just felt like a connection somewhere. Don't mind me. You did a lot of stuff from me. Mrs. Nangwa, welcome. It's good to have you on the show.
Thank you.
Okay, is it Nangwa or Wangwa? Wangwa.
Yes.
All right. The first time I heard the name, it sounded like a South African name, like all those Zimbabwean Wang.
Someone asked me that.
Someone did, right?
Manawasa.
Oh yes, and so you know I do have an ear for, like, I hear a lot of languages all around the world and all of that. So welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so if you're listening, to put it succinctly, the program is Couples Corner, and what we do is we talk to couples about the journey, the marriage journey, the love journey, and we get to learn one or two things, because we know that everyone or every couple is different from the other. So we get to bring you different faces and different stories to inspire you. So we hope you're going to listen and be part of it. So I'm going to start from Ms. Nangwa. This is very interesting. Your book title. I looked at it and I was like, wow, pretty interesting, because many people don't associate marriage with work. So, and now you're saying work your marriage, the title of your book. So what is it all about? What does it mean to work your marriage?
Okay, the title of the book is If Your Marriage Is Not Working, Work
Your Marriage. Yes.
Yeah. I discovered a lot of people have issues in marriages. In fact, I've heard of so many issues, so many tales of woes, in marriages. And at that time in my life, I did a series on Facebook, and it was about, I think the title was "This Marriage Must Work." And I saw the engagement. A lot of people, I could feel the pain in what some of them said. I could feel, it was relatable. They could relate with it, and I saw their comments, and I said, okay, why don't we just put this into a book? So I think the series was like a series of 10 parts, and before you know it, I started putting it into a book, and eventually the book came out. Now, the idea is this, that yes, you may have challenges in marriage, yes, things may not be the way you want them to be, but marriage is work. Marriage, a successful marriage does not come by accident. You need to be committed. You need to do something. You need to get working to make your marriage work. So if there's anything you are seeing or experiencing in your marriage that you don't like right now, then you need to sit back and put in some effort, and you see the change.
Oh, interesting, really interesting. All right, so probably much later we'll talk about identifying the aspects, because one thing is to say to someone, you need to work. Another thing is saying, okay, this is how you do it. These are the areas you need to work upon, or you need to work on, and all that. But let me go to you, Mrs. Wangwa. Okay, and being married for 7 years, right?
9.
9 years rather. You've been
November.
married for 9 years. I know, just like he said, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. So, what are some? Could you pinpoint some things that you did, or what it took you to build and keep your marriage until this extent that you are today? 9 years is no mean feat.
All right, thank you, Laydichee. There is nothing particular that has kept us for so long, or that is keeping us this far, that has kept us this far. I think majorly understanding and communication are the key things.
Understanding and communication.
I understand this person. I understand that he's my husband. I understand his roles. I understand my roles. And with this, I've been able to see that even though sometimes in my act in ways that might not look so good or might not appeal to me, I communicate. I talk with him, and he has given me listening ears over the years, and we have moved forward. It's not been easy, like you rightly said. 9 years is not child's play. It's not 9 days. It's not 9 minutes. We've been through series of issues, and we come out of it because we understand each other and we talk about it. So far, communication and understanding have been our watchword.
Okay, I think understanding someone is a skill. That's what I feel, because a lot of times we may have people around, we see them act in certain ways, but the way we perceive them is in line with probably our upbringing, the way we are, probably our educational level, what do you call it? So many factors. Do you understand?
Yeah.
As in, the person may not actually be what you see them to be. They may actually be something else. How do you build understanding? Well, I didn't mean to ask this question, but when you mention understanding, I know it's kind of complicated because you're seeing from a certain perspective, the other person is seeing from a certain perspective. How do you meet at the middle?
All right, thank you very much. I think in marriage, especially in our life, just like in every other relationship, there's something called compromise. Sometimes you just need to shift grounds, come down from your high horses. Now,
Okay.
I'll give you an example. Before I got married, I have issues saying sorry. So most times, I want to always do the right thing so that I don't have to say sorry.
Okay.
So upon getting married, I discovered that it's one of the tools if you really want to succeed in marriage, because definitely, no matter how careful you are, you must step on the toes of the next person, or you might do something that may not be appealing to the person. So I learned how to say sorry, even though it's not convenient. Sometimes I say sorry out of pain, as in I feel bad that I'm saying sorry. Someone said it's pride, I don't know, but I feel bad that I said sorry. But I grew into it, and with time I found that I do it effortlessly.
Okay.
So understanding has to do with shifting ground sometimes, not just because you are right, but because you know that I need to move forward, or this marriage must work, or we need to move forward. So understanding is knowing the person's strength, knowing the person's weaknesses, and making excuses even when the person falls short. So for me, that is understanding.
Like someone would say, I've heard someone say that we are not perfect. We are imperfect people.
Exactly.
And so when you get to realize that other people are not perfect, just like you are not, and then you'd give excuses like, okay, maybe this is shortcoming, maybe this is fault, this is where he's not strong, and and just like that, So but let me ask you, what did it take, like I asked that question, I really want to know how your journey of marriage has been like for this years for you. She said her part, what she's done or what she sees is very important. So for you, how was the journey of marriage been like, and how much of the ideas in your book was actually inspired by these experiences that you've had while married to your wife?
Okay, people say to have a successful marriage, everybody needs to give like 50-50 so that we get 100. But I don't think so. I think when
really?
you come into marriage, you are giving 100, assuming the other person is giving 0. So you put in your very best. You are giving 100 because you don't know if you say you want to give 50, you don't know if the other person will be in the mood to give that 50 that day. The person may just be in the mood to give 1. So you have 51 over 100. So you come into marriage, you know, giving your very, very best, assuming the other person is not going to contribute anything. So if both of you have that understanding, just like she has said, understanding and compromise, both of you have that understanding, you're going to give your best, not waiting for the other person, you know, to give their best. And then you meet at the middle. Things will work out right. So yes, you asked a question about how much of the experience, okay, translated into the book. Well, some of my experience, not all of my experience. Like they say some people say experience is the best teacher, but they say it doesn't have to be your own experience. You know, I counsel with people, so I hear lots of things and all that. And then, like I told you, when I wrote that post, did that series, I got a lot of engagement. So a lot of things you see in the book are things that people said, real life stories, and then that pertain to the Nigerian situation. It's not just one foreign book in a different climate. I mean, real things that are happening to real people. So those are the things that I put in there.
Okay. Now, by the way, I just want to ask this question before we go on, because I like to hear your love story. I usually like start from there, but before I do so, if I go on there to the most exciting part for me, but before I do so, I want to find out, you know, there's this mindset. I'm trying to find the right words, because this wasn't meant to be my question for you, but I really have to ask this. There's this mindset where people are like they are in a particular, let's talk about their position financially. For example, there's a young girl who does not have a good job, and then you were talking with her like, okay, what are you going to do about, you know, your job condition? You've got to work hard. And she says, oh, I'm just going to do the small one till my husband finds me from where I am. And she's looking for a rich husband, somebody who's high up there. And because she keeps waiting for that man, she's 42 and she's not married. In some cases, the guy would say, and if it's a guy, the guy would say, they'll say, stop this, your bad character now, you're too this. And the guy would say, when my wife comes, my wife is going to change me. She's going to be a quiet, calm woman, and she's going to gradually change me, and I'm going to stop. Is it possible for someone to be somebody different because they got married? I want to understand that. Does somebody's nature change? Or can your spouse, as soon as you get married, your spouse suddenly changes you or turns you into something else because you got married, changes your condition, changes so many things about it? Because I hear a lot of people, they feel that their life is going to be totally different from when they get married.
Okay, I get you. You know, it reminds me of a story someone told about this teacher who was asking the students what they wanted to be, just children.
Yes.
And then one guy in the class said he wanted to be the richest man in the world. Other people said, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a pilot. And then they got to one girl. And what do you want to be? She says, I want to marry him, the richest man in the world. You know, so it's unfortunate that we have people who are waiting to cash out on another person's success. And you know, we need to put that right for every young person wanting to get married. You don't need a man to make you complete. The same thing for, you know, the other way around. You don't need a woman to make you complete. The Bible says we are complete in him who is the head of all principalities and powers. Meaning that marriage will not make you complete. If you have bad character, when you get into marriage, it's not going to leave automatically. In fact, they said, people say love is blind, but the first miracle that will happen to you when you get married is that your blind eyes will be opened. You know, so
very funny.
you don't need to wait for somebody. You need to begin to work on yourself. You need to begin to prepare yourself to be somebody that will be lovable. Yes, don't shift the responsibility of change to another person, because people get into marriage with a lot of baggage.
Yes.
You know, unresolved issues, and those are the kind of things that cause problems in marriages.
All right. Okay. All right. So let's get to move on. Like I said, I'd like to hear your love story. You know, I'd like you to tell us a bit about how your journey together began. This journey called marriage. How did you meet? Tell us a bit about your love story.
Let her talk first. I want to hear something.
I want her to talk. The question goes to you.
Let her talk first.
All right. We actually met in church. He was a brother in church and I was a sister in church. A young girl that was confused, kind of. I didn't know what the next step was. Because I'd had so many failed attempts to getting admission into school and all that. And then when he came to church, he was always concerned. How are you doing? What is it? Have you bought jam form? Have you written exams? When is your next exams and all that? He was just concerned like a normal brother. I thought he didn't have hidden agendas.
I didn't have.
You heard him. You didn't have at the beginning. At the beginning, you didn't, right?
Okay.
At the beginning, you didn't have.
I didn't have.
Good. So we're listening.
All right. So he was concerned about my education and all that.
Okay.
Shortly after that, I think the next year or thereabouts, I got admission into the University of Port Harcourt. And while I was in school, sometimes he calls me up and all that just to encourage me like a big brother. And sometimes he sends me money and all that. So one day, there's no ouch, there's no ow about it. Even me, I didn't have any cause to do it. Oh, I was deprived. He just called me and straight up was like, I've been considering so many things. And he's a good storyteller. So he started by telling a story from one story. I couldn't make sense out of the story. That day I was like, what's happening? And I said, this story is somehow.
Okay, so how long between when you met and when he proposed to you?
I think like 2 years or 3 years.
That's a pretty long time to be patient to.
But he
As
didn't.
in,
No, I didn't have hidden agenda now.
you guys
Like
were
I
not.
said,
You
we're
were
in
not
the
in
same church.
courtship. You were not in courtship then.
No, we weren't.
No, not
we
at that
weren't.
time.
We
Okay.
weren't. He just popped up the question.
Wow.
Like,
So were you like praying to the Lord for those 2 years, like, you know, having to like, Lord, is she the one, or what was happening?
Okay,
those years?
I know some people, they hear things, they hear voices. You know, like someone said that he wanted to propose to a girl, so he just told her, said, I had a vision, I saw myself on the mountain, and I saw you in the valley, and the Lord spoke to me, and he said, son, behold your wife. So the girl said, okay, me too, I saw vision. I was on the mountain, and this time it was you in the valley. And the Lord said to me, daughter, behold the deceiver. So, you know, for me, it did not come that way. I believe
Okay.
you need to have a conviction of what you want. Okay, marriage, because you're not going to be praying all the days of your marriage life. I mean, this is a real human being who has feelings and emotions. So you need to be
Yes.
real about certain things. You need to determine if this is really what you want. Okay, so yeah, I saw her and I liked her.
Okay, what do you mean by real? Like, were you looking at the realness? Were you talking about the qualities? Were you talking about maybe the family, the financial situation? What do you mean by those things you have to consider when you're, you know, trying to choose a partner? For you, what were they?
Okay, for me, you know, Crystal said something about communication. You know, for me, one way to know people is when they talk.
Yes.
You communicate with them. It's a reflection of the soul of the person. You know, what comes out of the person. You know, Jesus says, not what goes into a man that corrupts him, but what comes out of the man. So when you talk with someone, you already know the kind of person, the person. So by conversing with her, because then we talked a lot, so I asked her questions. I had an idea of the kind of person she was, the kind of dreams she had.
Okay.
You know, so it's not hard. If you really settle down to look at what is important. For some people, they don't look at what is important. You are busy looking at a fine girl.
So what is important?
That's what I'm saying. You values.
Okay, values.
What are the values of that person?
Okay.
Do the values of this person align with yours?
Okay.
If you travel together, are you going to get to your destination without an accident?
Okay.
You know, yeah. So you need to think long term. And then this person may look all pretty and slim today. In 5 years' time, she may have put on weight. You know, after children.
But
and
she
all that.
hasn't.
No.
No, don't mind me. That was meant to be
Thankfully,
a
she
joke.
hasn't much. You know, but if you saw her before now, she was much slimmer than this. You know, so I mean, you know. So, but the thing is, you need to think beyond the present. Both of you need to work together. You need to understand that marriage is a project. It's not going to be you laughing all the way. You're going to have challenging times.
Yes.
So you need to have somebody who is ready to partner with you to work.
Yes. I had I'm not gonna say someone was complaining to me about her, do I say fiance? The guy she was planning to get married to. She says she's called off the relationship, and she was saying that she felt the guy was good enough, but they had problems with money. The money values were totally different. While she was a hard-working lady, the guy was a confused man who didn't know what he was going to do next. He just had one small job he was not comfortable with, but he kept complaining and complaining. But the girl on the other side is the kind of person who's proactive, like, okay, I have this problem, I want to solve it. I'm going to go here, I'm going to go here, I'm going to talk to people. So how do you reconcile? Do you think he should have gone ahead? Is that a big problem?
Well, I don't know. People are responsible for their choices. I won't be the one to face whatever.
I'm talking about money now.
Yes, I know. That's what I'm saying. You need to think. Can I take this? But when you talk about money, one thing marriage does is that you need to adjust. You need to do a lot of adjustment. But even before you get married,
yes,
you need to ask yourself a lot of valid questions. Well, for her, she asked herself probably, and she felt she couldn't go on with the marriage. Now, if you feel you can't take something, we can't force you. Because you're the one that is going to make that marriage for the rest. So maybe she weighed it, and she felt, I don't need this kind of person. Yes, the guy might be good in certain other areas, but that's little area where there is deficiency. Maybe what might cause issues for them. Yeah. So she is hardworking. She's pushing, and maybe the guy is laid back. She's going to be frustrated. If you get into that kind of mind with that kind of person, you might end up being frustrated.
Right. So what are the qualities you saw in your husband?
Basically, he was caring. He's caring. He's still caring. He's loving. He's accommodating.
Well, what attracted you in the first place?
His values. His morals, and his courage. He has a lovely personality.
Thank God.
Excuse you.
That's lovely.
Those were the first qualities that I got attracted to.
I think I like the part of values, because I think values, I feel that values are like very the most important things, and the values, they transcend just like we said, good character, I think they transcend. Even it goes to, like I mentioned, money has to be part of it as well. If you're a hardworking person and you're with somebody who's not hardworking, it becomes a problem. You just have to have values that align in many areas. Okay, so let's move on to one. It's sometimes when we tell the love stories, it's rosy. We say, oh my God, we love it, especially in movies when we see them. I just finished watching one romantic story. We're a village girl. The guy came from the city, not just city, the guy came from one of those foreign countries and met her and then fell in love with her. So I was trying to look at the movie, at first I wanted to say, dismiss it, like this is normal Nigerian movie. There was nothing, but there was something. The young girl, even though she had lost her parents, the young girl was strong. She was a strong person. She was moral. She still has strength of character. She was still focused and all that. So it's always beautiful to see that side. But there's this part where the journey of the marriage starts. They don't show us in movies, where the clash begins. Clash of personalities, and all that. So for you, what was it? What was the challenge? What were some recurring challenges, and how did you handle them?
Talk, man.
Talk.
All right. For me, I prepared well ahead for marriage.
Okay.
So I started reading marriage books maybe when I was like 17, 18. I've been praying, to have a good wife. And for me, she has not really given me issues. She has not given me issues.
That's a compliment. I've been praying to have a good wife, and
yes,
you were given.
She has not given me. Yeah, she has not given me issues, because she said something about understanding, compromise.
Yes.
In all our years of marriage, and I'm not saying it because I'm on radio. We've never had a third party, as in someone else, come to sit us down and now start doing counseling, or go to a village meeting and they are trying to settle us and say, your husband do this, or yeah, no good. No, nothing like that. You know why? Because yes, even though we might have differences, we have learned to accommodate each other, and we've learned to manage the differences. You know, she does not nag, all those things that they say women do. I've never experienced it. You know, I'm very thankful to God. You know, so if she has issues or she's not happy about anything, she communicates in low tones. As in, we just have a conversation. So the kids have never seen us like quarreling or shouting at each other.
What about none of you is temperamental? None of you had maybe clashing with regard to your personalities? Maybe one is reserved, one is talkative. You didn't have that
I
issue.
used to be the silent one. I give silent treatments whenever I'm angry. Like when we got married, shortly after we got married, I used to, because I'm very short-tempered. Okay. So as a way of curbing it, I had to learn to be silent. I talk a lot, so I decided to tame my tongue upon getting married. So when we got married, I discovered that he communicates better. Okay. If we have issues, he will say it out. He will bear his mind out. And sometimes when I go silent, I see him going about his normal duties, going about as if nothing happened. Like sometimes I'm like, what's wrong with this guy? Does he not know something is wrong and all that? So I discovered that I was being frustrated, and maybe sometimes when he doesn't notice, I'll call his attention that can't you see that this. And I said, what happened? I said, didn't you notice that? He said he didn't notice anything. I said, now what for you? This your own is a special case and all that. So we sat down together and he said, no, if you have issues, communicate. Let's talk about it. Let's trash it. Rather than, I can't pick your signals sometimes. So instead of waiting for me to come over to you and say I was wrong and all that, or frowning and putting yourself in a position that it's not okay by you, and at the end of the day I might not understand, why not talk? Let's just trash it out. And so I learned to talk, I learned to communicate better, and we talk about everything.
So that means that's one area that marriage has changed to you.
Yes, sure. That's one area I can say that marriage has changed to me. Changed about me.
I know I kind of came into the conversation. I cut you. I'm sorry. You were still trying to say something.
Okay, I can't remember what I was saying. It's all good. It's okay.
Well, I still feel that there are one or two things we could still talk about challenges with regard to marriage. I think there are many areas, especially in the beginning, the first few years when you're trying to understand. I got a friend, I keep sharing the story, who told me that the first 3 years of marriage she almost gave up on a marriage. Like she almost divorced her husband because she got to see that the person she knew while they were courting, as in while they were dating, was not the same person. That's what she thought. It was not the same person. Now they were living in the house. Before they got married, one of the things she said was the guy was so nice. He didn't wait for her to do anything, and she was this kind of lady that was always out fending, looking for money. But now she's married, the guy insists on her doing a lot of stuff in the house, and she's like, this is not the man I married. So was anything similar to that? Did anything similar to that happen to you, Mr. Wangwa?
Well, for me, no, none that I can remember.
Okay.
I mean, none that comes to mind. I know it happens to people. One thing marriage does is that when people get married, they let down their guard.
Okay. They let down their guard.
Yes. Before you get married, you have to act now. You have to polish yourself. So the girl is acting.
So what about those people who would say 9 years of courtship? So this courtship is still polishing and acting.
Well, their case is different. But for seriously, because people you manage yourself because the person is not with you. Okay, so there are some parts of you that the person doesn't get to see. Okay. But once people get married, they say, "Oh, I don't marry you." So you let down your guard. You be yourself, and you tell yourself, "There's nothing this person can do." I mean, there's nothing to hide anymore. After all, we are married. Yes. So that is the problem a lot of people face. You get to that stage, and then because the other person has not been prepared for that reality that will happen, the person gets shocked. You know, this person is just being them. They are just being themselves. It's not like, I mean, they were just pretending all along. They were just trying to bring you in. All of us do this thing. I mean, you have to polish your shoe so that the girl will see that your shoe is fine. You have to comb your hair. But maybe in your house, you don't even sand will be on your shoe and all that. You know, so when you get married, you now see that every morning you'll be looking for one leg of your shoe when you are going to work. At that point, there's nothing to hide anymore. You're just being yourself, you know. So that is the point where.
So do you think there's a need to, like, when you're dating, you will not tell the guy, "See, guy, I have this bad side of me, and I hope you can cope with it when you get married," or you tell the lady, "I have this bad side of me," at least to prepare the person's mind that, "See, I'm not perfect, though. This thing might happen when we get married."
And you tell them some things. You know, if you tell some things, they will not marry again. but what I recommend. What I recommend, you know, for people that do pre-marriage, married, you know, a lot of these things should be taken care of at that point. You know, a lot of our pre-marriage counseling, so that's what they call it, curriculum.
Yes.
You know, they need to be upgraded.
Okay.
We are not real. You just read from the book. I mean, deal with real life experiences. This thing might happen. This thing might happen. And then when people discuss those things, I mean, you see that the person is prepared. Things might not be the way you think they are going to be. You're going to have some tweaks here and there, so you need to adjust.
Yes, we need to adjust. All right, pretty interesting. I wanted to ask you a particular question, but I changed my mind. I'll leave it for later. I'll leave it for later. No, I think I should. Now, looking at it, I get that your husband is a pastor.
Yeah,
he's a pastor. You met him a pastor?
No, I didn't.
So I'm sure the schedule it's not the usual, like brother. There's a big difference between a brother and a pastor. So how do you deal with, does it affect timings that you have to share, you have to be together and all that? Were you prepared, like, okay, this is a pastor? Were you expecting it? Were you prepared for the life of being a pastor's wife?
Well, I wasn't really prepared. Let me be honest. I wasn't really prepared for what came afterwards. As in, maybe I thought it was going to be lighter and all that. Although it's not so hectic, as he's not the head pastor.
Okay.
He's away from town and all that. Just this morning, I telling him, I noticed he woke up, as in he barely slept throughout the night, and I was like, don't you rest, don't you sleep? It's affecting you. It's showing it's telling on your body, on your appearance and all that. I was just trying to tell him. Then sometimes when we close from church, we'll need to wait longer than every other person. Maybe they have pastors meeting and all that, but aside that, we've been able to balance it up.
Okay.
Though I'm also a minister in church, so whatever it is, most times our meetings are together, or if he's having a meeting somewhere, I'm also having a meeting somewhere and all that.
There's not been cases where you're like, let's go now.
Yeah, definitely.
Many times.
Definitely.
She's let's go master.
Yeah, sometimes it could be exhausting. Like last Sunday, I really was tired and I needed to just go home and rest and all that. I said, let's go. There have been cases where he wants to be in church at so and so time and I'm not ready. I'll be like, okay, if you want to go, just leave your family and all that. I want to blackmail him with it, but we've been able to manage.
But I like the way the two of you have one particular kind of, as in you have one belief, more or less, and then I'm sure it's not so difficult to transmit that to your children,
Not so difficult.
right?
Yeah.
It's much easier, because a lot of people would say it doesn't matter whether you are this or you are that, two extremes, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you need to align. You know, like she's talked about. I remember one particular incident when she was wasting my time. Then
And he left me.
You know, she now said, hey, you want to go? I just entered the car, drove, and went to church. When I got to church, my pastor's wife now asked me, where is Crystal? And I said, I left her in church. I left her at home. She was wasting my time. And then our son Alex was just like 1 year or something. He was still young, you know. So she had to prepare him and all that. She now said, hey, Pastor Mike, don't be so, you know. I did not enjoy church at all that day. And when I went home, I had to apologize, you know. So I think after that I learned, you know, you need to help out. You know, so I help to prepare the children when I can. And I realized that marriage is partnership. Don't just be like one child was describing the father. We just go to the car and start honking. He's always doing that. Instead of you to help them wear shoe or bat the children, you are forming Lion King. It's not
Lion King. Oh my God. And that brings me to something it wasn't my plan to talk about it, but you kind of brought it in when you said, I know it's part of what you said in your book. You mentioned something about submission. Now you talked about marriage is partnership, but for a lot of people it's an unequal partnership. This is a battle. Like, a lot of women are not comfortable when you say it's unequal. Like, some would say the man is the master and the woman is the whatever. So what do you say? What is your perspective on submission? Okay. Which is definitely what you treated in your book.
Alright, incidentally, you came to ask me the same question yesterday. I called in for the other program.
Oh, okay.
Rise Connect, right? Yeah, right. Okay.
I think it's Family Circle.
Sorry, Family Circle. Yeah, Family Circle. So, submission in the Bible, when a woman submits, it doesn't mean that she's less than the man. And I gave this illustration. I said, sometimes you might be members of a committee or a particular team, and then they now appoint somebody and say, you lead the team.
Okay.
It does not mean that that person is the best.
Okay, I'll need to come in here just a minute. If you're listening right now, the program is Couples Corner. I got carried away with all the talk. So if you are just joining us, you're listening to Rise 106.7. The program is Couples Corner. We talk to married couples on this program. And today I have Mr. and Mrs. Mike Nwangwa. Mr. Mike Nwangwa is the writer of a book he calls If Your Marriage Is Not Working, Work Your Marriage. We've looked at some concepts in this book, and I hope it's been very helpful to you. We're still looking at more, and right now we're talking about submission. What is it all about? And I hope you're still right there. We still got a few minutes more left on the show, so keep listening. So you were talking about submission.
Yes. So as I said, when you appoint a leader in a team, it doesn't mean that he's necessarily the best. It doesn't mean he's necessarily the smartest. It's just that for things to function, for a plane to fly well, you need to have a pilot. You need to have somebody who heads the place. And that is what God had in mind when he said the man should be the head of the family. You can't fight it, because like they say, two captains, captains cannot be in a ship at the same time. So for me, submission doesn't mean that the woman becomes any less. It's just for her to realize that this is a role. There are a lot of things I can do as a woman, but I need a man, just as God ordained it. God, the one who ordained marriage, he has said a man should be the head. A man should play the lead role, and that's what it is. It doesn't take anything away from me. It doesn't make me any less who I am. And then in most cases, we've heard the saying where they say the man is the head of the family, but the woman is the neck. Most time we know who runs the home now. Most time it's the woman that directly or indirectly runs the home.
Okay, so that's what submission is. So how do you see it?
I think there's an order according to God, and based on what he has just said. God made an order that the woman should submit to the man.
That word submit, it's what I have a challenge with.
Okay.
Submit, does it mean that the man's word is what stands at the end of the day in whatever the situation is? Is that what submission is? Because that's what it looks like to me.
Oh, but you know that same scripture says, first, submit yourselves one to another. Submission, the way we make it look like, and maybe some men misunderstand it. When Bible says submit, it doesn't mean you should kill another person's daughter in the name of submission. It doesn't mean that.
Neither when you're giving me food.
It should not be Hitler. Like, we don't even help matters. During our wedding, the MC came and said she should give me food. So she knelt down. You know that thing that they do? They put cake in your mouth. And I whisper to her, are you sure you are going to be doing this thing for the rest of your life?
Yeah.
So for me, we get a wrong picture of this submission thing. It doesn't mean that the woman will shut up and her opinion doesn't count. No, it's respect for each other. Bible says submitting one another to one another. So it doesn't mean the woman becomes useless or she becomes a footmat. No, that's not what submission is. And the man needs to love the woman, just as the scripture says. The question you are going to ask yourself, Mr. Man, now is, do I love this woman enough for her to submit to me?
Oh, I see. Okay, it is the action of the man. That's what you're saying now, that propels the submission.
Of course.
So if the woman is not submitting, it means you're not.
There's something wrong.
Oh, that's why they say men love your wife.
So you shouldn't be thinking what the problem is with the woman. You should be asking yourself, what is the problem with me? Why is this one? Because you don't demand respect. If you see anybody saying, do you know who I am? You better respect me. There's something wrong with that person. You don't demand respect. You earn respect. You command respect. And it has to do with what you do. So if you love the woman, ultimately she will submit to you.
What's your husband's favorite food?
He really doesn't have a favorite food. Anything nice goes.
Does he wake you up at midnight and says,
not at
cook?
all.
I feel like eating pepper soup.
He's not a food person.
I respect those men that say you should be cooking, go to the market every day and be cooking food.
Fresh food. So I would say I like fresh food.
I like it fresh.
His grace is sufficient for them.
maybe the women should be asking questions before they get married. I hope you'll not be waking me up at midnight and telling me you want fresh food, because I can't do.
That's ruthless.
Okay. So I have this thing I'm curious about. I want to know from your years of experience of marriage. I got a friend who keeps telling me that she's tired of the man she's living with. That's her husband. They've been married for 16 years, but the man she started with is not the same man now. The man is not improving himself. She has metamorphosed. She's learned a lot. She's improved herself, and she's bigger and stronger. But the guy, it's totally different from, what she thought the man was at the beginning. In fact, she told me, said, I don't like my husband, and I'm on the verge of divorcing him. What would you say to that woman? Pastor Mwangwa? Yes.
Well, I don't know, sometimes...
How do you live with somebody you don't like anymore? Because now we're saying don't divorce. But how? When you're now totally different. At the beginning, your values aligned. Now, 16 years later, you are poles apart. How do you work on that?
I think, sometimes people already have issues and they don't know. Because of communication, if you check, you see that sometimes you have husbands and wives that don't communicate anymore. And then because the children are there in the middle, they don't feel it. These days I hear of marriages 14, 15, 16, 20, 25 years having issues. You know why? Because all along the children were there, so you could divert attention. So when the man comes and say, my children don't chop, he's talking to you. Then the woman will say, go meet your papa to collect money, all those kind of things. Now, when the children leave home, you are stuck with a complete stranger. And it is at that point you begin to say, hey, I don't like it. No, it did not start that day. You stopped liking him many years ago, but the children were a distraction. So when it gets to that point, both of you need to sit down and ask yourself questions. This thing is not one-sided.
And the man is not willing to talk?
Well, if he should have people he respects. You understand? Maybe elders, neutral people, or if it's in a church, they might have pastors who are neutral, and they can sit there or talk to a marriage counselor. We underrate these things in this country, but a marriage counselor will run you through therapy and talk to you people and help you align your values. Remember, a lot has happened within 16 years. So both of you have changed, and at that stage there are things you can't tolerate anymore. Say, why do I even need a man? Because you have money, you are okay, you can take care of yourself and fend for yourself.
True.
Yeah, the children have grown, you understand. Say, thank God my children, I don't train children, so what am I bothered about? And so you find a lot of marriages breaking at that point. So we need to pay attention at the initial stage.
We need to pay attention at the initial stage. So what's your final word?
My final word is, you can be better, you can be more. If you want to be a queen, or you want to be treated like a queen, make your home a palace, so that your husband will reign as a king and he will give you the opportunity.
And what does
to
it constitute making it a palace?
Peace. Peace. As a woman or as a human being, I've come to understand that you cannot give peace and get war in return. The Bible says that love covers all things. So once you give peace in your home, just look for a way. You already know your spouse. You have come to this point where you found out that, okay, this is the kind of person I'm living with. Communicate better and let peace reign in your home. Once there is peace, every other thing would fall into place.
All right. So, Pastor.
Yeah, well, for people who are going through issues in their marriage, I just want you to know that things will get better. And then for every single person listening, this is the time to settle down and make up your mind, make the right choices. Like we said earlier, values are very important. So talk to the person, find out if the person's values align with yours, so that you don't end up making a mistake. Because I discover most of the counseling cases we handle now were because people made wrong choices. So if
choices.
Yeah. So if we marry right, then we will have less dysfunctional marriages.
I'm curious. What constitutes wrong choices? Is it
you choose for maybe physical things, you know.
Okay.
And you don't think deeply. You just the guy has a car. You just
has
like
a job?
The car. Yeah, the woman can sing very well. She's not going to be singing for the rest of your life. The guy has 6 packs. Tomorrow the 6 pack will turn to 2 packs, or you know, it might no pack.
No pack.
Yeah, no, you understand. You know, so things will change, but you need to look at those things, those valuable things, the person's vision, the person's values, the person's goals. Can you people work together? You know, can you get to the same destination together? And then, is the person family oriented? Is this person going to take care of my kids? Is he going to be a good father? Is she going to be a good mother? You need to ask those questions.
Okay. And hope you don't meet a goalless person.
Oh yeah. So you
no,
will
this
know.
is serious.
You will know if you will
there are
know.
people who are
But
goalless.
sometimes there are signals. But I think people just get blinded by love and they get carried away.
Yes.
Sometimes these things are red flags. They might just pop up, but you just overlook them. And at the end of the day, you might settle for that person, and when the person exhibits it, at that point, you don't have a choice than to live with it.
Yeah.
So most of these things that we see today, they showed up sometime, maybe in the relationship, as red flags that could be handled, but people overlooked.
But I'm just thinking, like if you're with a partner, think about it. Marriage is like till the end of your life, and you're with a partner, and every day your heart is hurting. Oh, that's not a good position to be. That means one really has to be very careful in choosing a partner. But if you're in it, just like the book says, if your marriage is not working, work your marriage. You get to a point.
Find a way to pray about it. Talk to him. Anything. Get somebody he respects. Take him to a counselor. If you want to do deliverance for him, do it. Anything.
Work the work.
Yes,
it will definitely yield results at the end of the day. I want to thank you so much, Pastor and Mrs. Unwangwa. Rather. Thank you so much. We do appreciate you coming today. I've had such a great time, such a marvelous time on the show. We looked at really several interesting stuff that I have learned from, and I know someone who's listening has also learned from it. So thank you so much. I hope that next time, I'll probably have you very soon. I'm going to have a special program again, and then I'm going to invite you once more on that.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thank you very much for having us.